Comic Books and You. Today we're going to go through One Bad Day, Rachel Ghul, which is the third one I've reviewed. Yes, third one I've reviewed for the channel. This is probably one of the better ones, if not the best one, in my opinion. Truly a good character piece on Rachel Ghul compared to the Aura of One Bad Day Riddler and the just adventure of the day of One Bad Day Batwoman. Our main character, the protagonist in this story, is Rachel Ghul. He's your local semi-immortal eco-terrorist who moonlights as the leader of an assassin's organization. That's the best way to describe him. I would say he's nowadays far more represented as that eco-terrorist rather than the leader of the League of Assassins. So he's about 700 years old. I would put his birth around the 14th century in Asia. If you look through the details, you see him come out of the Lazarus pit twice in this story, which is the meme he uses to come back to life. We see his real love for animals and nature in this story, but also how he takes responsibility for it as a leader, basically. I would say the antagonist in this one is Batman, or the detective, as Raish keeps calling him. He's basically Ra's al Ghul's failed successor. That the idea was to have Batman replace him as the leader of the League of Assassins at some point. Batman had a son with Raish's daughter, so you mean it is a fairly complex relationship between the two. And through this story, Batman is not diminished at all compared to how he is in many other and even other One Bad Day book. He has moments of weakness, which shows how great of a human he is, and that he is seeing himself as a father figure, or as a father actually, in this particular story. But I think everybody in this book, he gets Lazarus pitted at least once here. Damian Wayne Robin is a minor character here, but he does influence the story quite a bit. So he's Ra's al Ghul's grandson, Bruce Wayne's son. He still has a lot to learn from Batman, that from what we understand in this story, not only in terms of how to be a good detective, but also how to be a good human being and citizen in a way. But he still likes his grandfather because he is his grandfather in a way, and he's been trained by him. So there's a bit of a dichotomy here between the two characters, but we see in this story where Damien's true loyalty end up lying. So we start the story as Ra's al Ghul is revived out of a Lazarus pit, and we get a small flashback of when he was young and his village getting destroyed and pillaged during probably one of the many Chinese civil wars, or derivative wars driven by Chinese civil wars. It was rather nasty in that general area at the time. And we see him also rescued by wolves as he was going to get killed by a soldier as he ran away in the forest. We get back in the spirit of things. I mean, he's back on his feet and getting ready to go. He learns that his pet companion, a wolf of 19 years, that's the last of her species, is dying. Ra's al Ghul takes responsibility to give the wolf the lethal injection to end her suffering, and he sees this as much more than just a single death, but as the extinction of his species, and it kind of drives him a bit insane. Well, not really insane. It drives his motivation to do what he was already planning to do to the limit. So he starts on a little mission of saving biodiversity and the environment, which to start with a few casual murder of powerful oligarchs, their sons, everybody on their boats, etc. We get 3 deaths, even though we only see one of them. We get told that there's 3 of them that are killed before Batman is Batman and realizes that something's going on, because all the deaths are meant to not attract attention. They're all looking accidental or like a catastrophic failure in a boat. But Batman is Batman, so he figures out that something's wrong. He goes to speak to the heir of one of the oligarchs, and she basically reveals to her that she's friend with Talia al Ghul. That's a guess number 1. But he also realizes that every person that were killed, each of them, their heir or the person taking over their company, is more environmentally friendly. Less oil drilling, less animal experimentation, etc. Bruce realizes that Ra's al Ghul's to blame, but before he can get into action, Ra's gets into the Batcave and kidnaps Damien and brings him to the headquarters of the League of Assassins. In response to this, Batman goes to the headquarters and confronts Ra's al Ghul, but Batman can't compromise on his view of justice. Ra's al Ghul can't compromise on his desire to save the environment. And, well, Ra's al Ghul casually stabs him through the chest. Very simple thing to do. And I mean, it's just death in a story with Lazarus pits, so it doesn't really matter. So Ra's goes on a bit of casual eco-terrorism at that point, killing and maiming 30 powerful individuals in total, so 27 extra from what we had before, and a few thousands here and there in, blowing up a building or two, and possibly crashing a airplane. Nothing, catastrophically evil there. It takes 2 months for Batman to be resurrected by the Lazarus Pit. Damien explained to him what happened, that the 27 were killed. But Damien also said that he didn't help his grandfather. He remained at the Lazarus Pit side to make sure that Bruce would be okay. Batman decides to take matters into his own hand again and confronts Ra's al Ghul. They have a sword duel, each of them explaining their ideal. And Batman is faced with the fact that Ra's did commit all those murders, but the people that are now in charge of each of the businesses or each of the organization are not responsible for the death of their predecessor at all. The justice that Batman is looking for can be given to Ra's al Ghul, but if he were to arrest him or anything, it wouldn't make any real change, because the changes have been set in motion and they're good changes at the same time. It's a bit of a conundrum for the detective. Ra's al Ghul does lose the fight. He goads Batman to kill him. Batman sticks to his ideals and say that he will not kill him. Ra's al Ghul basically jumps off a cliff and dies, falling to the bottom of it. Once again, it's just death. How bad can it be? Ra's al Ghul comes back 2 years later from a Lazarus pit in China, but his conscience is now cleaner because he knows that he did the right thing. Here, that's a huge discussion you can have. Did Ra's al Ghul do the right thing? I mean, we're in a spot here where the fact that he killed so many does show that he has, well, no remorse, and he is pretty darn evil. But is saving the environment worth it? Is saving animals worth it? And there's very good things to be said for that as well. This is an odd character piece in a way, especially when looking at a villain, because you can tell he's evil and you can tell his acts were out of proportion, but the end result could very well be a good thing. Let's go through the covers. We've got 2 variant covers and a standard cover that I could find. Maybe there's another one, but I haven't seen it. I think variant covers it's not really an issue, but it's a problem. Yes, collectors might buy 3 copies to get one of each covers, and you might have some people that are more attracted to one than the other, etc. But you have to think that each cover costs between $500 and $750 directly. That's the price for the artist to do the cover. Probably even more in some of the cases we have here. And then you have to print all of those variant covers, etc. I'm not sure the return on this is as high as you think or would want it to be. Getting 3 variant covers, okay, that's probably not a catastrophic number. It's when we get like some of those whatnot comics that I've been getting every once in a while. I haven't reviewed them, but some of them have like 9, 10 different variant covers. It starts being an issue. One of the biggest problem here is that the standard cover for One Bad Day Ra's al Ghul is the best one of the 3. There's no question here. You've got the really intimidating Ra's al Ghul in the back, the injured Batman in the front. Attracts the eye immediately, gives you an idea of what's going to happen in this story. Extremely good cover. The second variant is a Jim Lee cover. I love Jim Lee's art. I love Jim Lee's style. So this one here I do like, but it's not as good as the first one. It's a nice fight scene, but that could have been an inner a full page inside the book, and it would have been just as good. Third one is the Burning Arkham cover that you have for all One Bad Days. It's not the worst one of those Burning Arkham covers. The One Bad Day Riddler one was rather weak, like everything with that book. It does attract the eye. It's not a terrible cover. It would probably sell books by looking at this one here. But I don't think it's as good because Ra's al Ghul's not the kind of guy to go to Arkham Asylum. He'll just die and come back and die and come back. And you know how it goes. So this is a 64 pager, like all One Bad Day books. So basically 3 floppies worth at $7.99. Soft cardboard cover. The binding on this one is a bit more reliable than my One Bad Day Catwoman or my One Bad Day Bane. Maybe I just got a bad one. For both of those books, maybe I just got a bad one. That's what I'm starting to think because my Riddler was also pretty, normal when I opened it. I expect an hardcover French edition to come out for this, but at $22.95 for a hardcover, when the English book is $7.99, it's hard to say that it's really worth it. If you put 2 of the One Bad Days together in one book, maybe it would be worth it at that price, in my opinion. There's no ads in this whatsoever. You only get material. You get only comics. Basically, this is much better than most comics out there. When we look at the art in this, it is truly fantastic. And we're going to start just with the real basic here. The panel work in this is fantastic. You've got double pagers, bleeding panels, the panels that go through different pages as well. The page real estate is used extremely effectively. But even though that sometimes causes some of the pages to be a little bit harder to read, because you're still used to going from top to bottom, on the left, then on the right, or on the right, then on the left. If you read too many mangas. If you're not used to this kind of format, it might be a little bit more difficult for you. Or if you're like me and you read really quickly, character work in there is also top notch. You really have well defined characters. Proportions are really good. Whenever the characters are bare chested, you have that a few times. The definition on the muscles, the definition on the character is really, really good. There's nothing awful in there or nothing odd in this book that takes you out of the immersion. Unlike, let's say, I Saw, where some of the facial expressions were just a little bit odd. In this one here, everything is top notch. We get plenty of animal work in this as well. It's generally well done to practical. What I mean by this is the animals don't look cartoony. The animals don't look super realistic either. A bit of artistic license, but they do exactly what they're supposed to do. And the artist really managed to get the sad puppy eyes from the dying wolf. That's a really, really nice panel and really, really scary. I was never a fan of Damian Wayne's look. As a character, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with Batman having a son and raising his son if all goes well. But his look always is goofy to me. I don't know what's wrong with it. Any artist who goes through and does Damian Wayne, I don't like it. Maybe with a different costume it would work better. Maybe it's something with the face or the hair. I'm honestly not sure. Story elements, well, we're going to start with the big problem here, which is the Lazarus Pit. Resurrection devices and resurrection power in comics is rather awful. Death is no longer a threat or an issue, even when it has bad side effects. There's no stakes in the story as far as people dying. As long as the Lazarus Pits are around, they're going to come back. And what makes the Lazarus Pit even worse is that literally anyone can use it. You see Batman having it used on him, Ra's al Ghul. I know Jason Todd went through it as well. Honestly, anyone that dies in Batman in general can just be brought back without much repercussion. If we go in other stories where we have that kind of issue, Monsieur Ming in Bob Moran has the same kind of resurrection ability through cloning and mind reproduction. But nobody else in the story is able to have that power. Not even his daughter, not even people that he somewhat cares about. If Mr. Ming is killed, he comes back. But if anybody else is killed, they're dead. And for the Mr. Ming thing, it was literally someone writing himself in a corner and bringing a character back because, well, publishing one novel a month for a while, you kind of need to start recycling characters. Ra's al Ghul is extremely sympathetic in this story. You do realize that he is a mass murdering asshole. That's part of it. But up to where do you go to end justify the means? He sees the world dying as a 700 years man. He's seen it all. He's seen how the environment has been damaged and how it needs to be balanced. And his way of doing it is by murdering, well, fairly despicable people. I don't think anybody that he's taken out here, well, you're going to have some people grieving for them, but the planet won't. And overall, there's probably a bunch of people who'll be like, yeah, he's probably a good thing he's gone. Here, it's easy to keep understanding. Ra's al Ghul is evil. But what's his evil compared to the greater evil in a way? Both are showed as good father figures. They're trying to teach Damien what needs to be done about the future. Batman really pushing towards the ideas of justice, while Ra's al Ghul is pushing towards the idea of protecting the environment. So we have two, well, a father figure and a good grandfather figure at the same time, even though they're on opposite side. Never kill is passed from Bruce Wayne to Damian Wayne in this story. If Bruce were to die, yes, Damian would have kept on going, never killing, because that's what Batman is supposed to be, and that is what Batman is supposed to do. Something that one Tom King doesn't seem to realize most of the time. In the list of evil people, that Ra's al Ghul people, we have a businessman playing at the space race, which I always find silly in the DC universe because you've got spaceships everywhere, literally. That ends up being killed. I have a feeling that's kind of a dig at Elon Musk, but the only rich jerk that went to space is Jeff Bezos, who's still considered a darling by the leftists for some reason. Probably the amount of money he gives to a particular party. We have both men and women dying in Ra's al Ghul's fury in this book, so it's not a one-sided propaganda either, okay? It's not just all men are bad. And the plan Ra's al Ghul had is to kill 30 people plus a couple thousand here and there to have successors who have nothing to do with their death and only positives in the long run in replacing the person who was killed. So even if Batman were to seek justice, if he exposed what was going on, that would probably make things actually worse. So this is once again a very nice split on things. We do have a bit of a problem here with multiverses, which is a classic when we look at DC and Marvel. What are the actual stakes here? Let's save the planet. This is the only one we got is the standard eco-terrorist and ecological mastermind quote, but does it really matter if there's 950 other Earths just floating around? I mean, at that point, can't Ra's al Ghul just go to another planet, grab the animals he wants to save from there, clone them because you've got the technology, you're in DC, and just repopulate using that? If you're so mad that this Earth's going to down the drain, why not just go to another Earth where humans didn't evolve? We know they exist in the multiverse. So that's where multiverses truly start showing that there's a problem. I know DC's trying to reflect our world in their books. The problem is the tech, the equipment, everything that you've got in the DC universe makes a lot of those kinds of problem kind of moot as well. I mean, you've got infinite energy reactors in DC. Why are we still using fossil fuels, etc.? Like I said, I understand that they're trying to reflect our world, but the verisimilitude here is kind of broken by this. I do find that if humans are intentionally destroying the environment, Batman should be joining Ra's al Ghul in his crusade to give him a different perspective as well. Once again, that's part of the problem with the multiverse. There's bound to be a multiverse where Batman and Ra's al Ghul are working together to save the environment and probably doing a bang up job at it. Where does it end? Final thoughts. Well, let's go through a few things here. I can't fault Ra's al Ghul too much for his desire to save animals and biodiversity. A lot of environmentalists right now focus on macro issues, global warming being the big one, while not recognizing and realizing that those micro issues are also at stake or could be used to reduce those macro issues. One of the things that's not discussed here even though we do see someone being killed because they were sport hunting. We don't see animal overhunting and destruction by Chinese traditional medicine, which is probably one of the biggest culprit in that kind of overhunting. Many animals are on the verge of extinction specifically because we need to get little Chang up, as an example. It's always fun to see a story where Batman loses because he's so over memed as the ultimate always winning kind of guy. And the story climax here is fairly Watchmen esque. Ra's al Ghul wins. He played his cards right in advance with a plan that makes sure that the entire planet benefits and humanity benefits, and there's nothing that Batman can really do to reverse what was done. This is probably my favorite One Bad Day so far, and One Bad Day Bane is also really good, but in a very different way. It's far more personal for One Bad Day Bane compared to this one, which is more planet wide in a way. And compared to the train wreck of One Bad Day Riddler, this one is a strong recommend for me. If you like Ra's al Ghul, if you like Batman, if you like just good art, this is a good book for you. So I'll see you guys later. Keep on reading comic, keep on enjoying them. I'll keep analyzing them, and we'll see you guys later. Bye bye.